Hey there. Different style of video than usual because I literally do not have time to edit, but I really want to talk about this. Now, what is this? Well, let me put it simply. Project Moon has a problem. And it's not that they can't stop writing peak fiction, although that is true. It's the recently released Ring Yi-song. Ring Udis is also good, but the main problem is Yi-song. Udis is just a good idea. So I think that's enough intro. I'm just gonna get into why he is so broken. The proposed nerf, the fact that Project Moon is no longer going through with that nerf, and what that bodes for the future. So let's just quickly go over Ring Pointillist Student Yi-song's kit, followed by, well, a discussion of what makes him so good. So his skill 1 is a 3-coin skill that clashes at 12 and rolls 11 with conditional for 24 raw damage. It applies count of a random status effect for the Ring and their gimmick of wanting debuffs on a target, but we'll get into that with the next skill. So, speaking of his next skill, his skill 2 is a little good. So with both conditionals met, it clashes at a 20 and rolls an 18 as a single coin skill with plus 10 coin power. That's alright, I guess, but single coin skills don't really do that much damage. Right? Well, yeah, they don't, but this skill reuses 2 times. Do you want to know how much raw damage the skill does with both reuses? 84. You know how much raw damage N-Corp Sinclair's skill 3 does? 90. Yi-song's skill 2 is like a nuclear bomb. For reference, Picard Yi-song's skill 2 with a much more difficult conditional for 5 coins is 80 raw damage. But you might be thinking that maybe his condition for use is difficult. Well, like I just said, Picard Yi-song has a much more difficult conditional because all Ring Yi-song needs to do to bust out self-destructive art is 3 debuffs. This is not a hard condition to meet at all. Seriously, N-Faust skill 2 basically takes you there instantly, and Project Moon's definition of a debuff is very generous, so stuff like Vengeance Mark counts for this conditional. And even if you don't have the conditional, you could just get lucky and roll it anyway, because it starts at a 40% chance to reuse and goes up by 20% for every debuff. And guess what? The skill applies plus 3 count to a randomly selected status effect, so if you somehow don't have this really easy conditional, your chances will likely go up just from using the skill. So, obviously that skill is good. But what about his skill 3? Like, surely his skill 3 isn't also super good, you might be saying. Well, you would be wrong, because this thing should be named to DDED Art with how good it is. Now, it's a pretty standard 4-coin nuke skill for his rarity, clashing at 25 and rolling a 23 for a total of 62 raw damage. The notable part, however, is the last coin, which can deal plus 125% more damage, 25% more damage for every type of negative effect on the target, and again, this is not that difficult of a condition to meet. So, yeah, skill 2 is the star of the show, by far, definitely. But do not sleep on skill 3. Oh, and his passive basically gives him 6 to 8 offense level up every turn, so yeah, more damage from the defense level versus offense level part of the damage calculation formula, and even better clashing. Now, we have had good identities with skill 2s that reuse and deal a lot of damage, like Flashing Strikes and Cloud Cutter and Vibration Compression and Shank. The difference between Yi-song's skill and those skills, however, is that Yi-song is just better. He straight up has no weaknesses and deals more damage. Vibration Compression clashes horribly and requires you to both hit heads and have charge, and does less raw damage, only 64. Flashing Strikes requires She Ishmael to be below 50% health. Cloud Cutter has no condition, but it clashes like garbage in Kurokuma Honglu, generally just can't clash, period. And Shank from Ting Tang essentially requires a broken body part, and his other skills don't do great damage to compensate. Ring Yi-song, in comparison, has more damage, better clashing, and an easier condition. There's no issues with the damage potential of the IDs I just mentioned. It's mainly that they're all like high school athletes, and then Ring Yi-song comes in as an Olympic medalist. And as for Ring Udis, as a brief aside, She has about the same damage potential with her skill 2 as the previously mentioned IDs. It's mainly that, well, like Yisong, her condition is way easier than everybody but Kurokuma Honglu, who effectively has no condition. I don't really think Udis is a problem, though. It's mainly Yisong. Udis is just a good 2-star who got caught up in all of this because she shares a gimmick with the guy who might as well have a skill 4 for a skill 2. It is also important to note that both Udis and Yisong, outside of Yisong's absurd damage potential, were extremely broken in Mirror Dungeon because they would trigger basically all the keyword gifts thanks to their random application. This isn't a thing anymore, however, and I'll get into that right now. So, anyway, Project Moon decided that they would nerf the IDs, mainly Yisong, because this was kinda crazy. They weren't going to nerf his damage potential, by the way. They were just going to make it harder to get so it wasn't so easy. And, well, it turns out that people don't like nerfs, especially non-gacha games, and even if they're getting free stuff. So, Project Moon sent out a reversal of their decisions to nerf the ID specifically. They are still indirectly nerfing them in Mirror Dungeon by making it so that all random stats effect features do not proc all keyword ego gifts, so no more Bloody Mist suddenly one day or Soothe the Dead plus Bloody Mist. But the major nerf to the conditionals is no longer happening. And now, as a result of this, Project Moon has taken the stance that no matter what IDs and egos will not be nerfed unless it is a bug. And I'm not really sure how to feel about this. I mean, he's really fun as an ID, but wow is he strong. And I really would not have minded having to work harder to hit enemies with the force of a bullet train fired out of a railgun. And I understand why they're hesitant to negatively rebalance IDs, but I would honestly say that this is another N-Corp Sinclair situation, where future Yisong identities are going to have to be balanced around the opportunity cost of not bringing Ring Yisong. I'm curious to hear what you all think in the comment section, however. Anyway, to close off the video, my thoughts as of right now is that I would rather garbage IDs be buffed to the level of the stronger IDs, so when we inevitably get up to 5, I feel like most of Ring Yisong's power budget has already been taken by virtue of not being nerfed here, and as such, I'm hoping that gap will be closed through that. I'm also hoping that we'll get some better way to get Thread if Uptide 5 does happen, because I'm so broke. Please, Project Moon. Remember that bug with 5 daily bonuses for Threadlux? I mean, people always say it's not a bug, it's a feature, right? Right? Anyway, if you watch the end, thank you so much for watching, and subscribe? I'll do something funny at 1,000 subscribers, I promise.